That's all I'm gonna do is get her started.
That's perfect.
What you gonna do?
I'm just gonna get you started, cause you know how, you can tell the story. So you guys start when you
Okay.
wanna
Ready?
start.
Yeah, it already has.
Okay.
Okay, well, you ought to tell them where you started out was at Pleasant Grove, and then go from,
Okay, my early years, after my daddy died when I was 2 years old, Mama continued going to Pleasant Grove. And that was my grandmother's church, and really all the families buried there.
Mhm.
And that's my early childhood was there, but that's hardly before I can't remember. I can remember being there and eating out under the trees. I remember that. But then my mama remarried and did not get that. They didn't go to that church. They signed up down in the country somewhere at Landers Chapel. My stepdaddy belonged at Bethel, Mama belonged up here, so they compromised for one halfway. Okay, but back to me. When Mama remarried, then there was a second crop of kids. I call it the second crop. Anyway, there were 4 little pastors. Well, they come along pretty fast, and my mama couldn't take those kids and go to church. So anyway, we lived out on the direction of Krause before you get to Hilltop. And Lord, I walked to town all the time, didn't think nothing about it, walked to school. But anyway, my cousin Margaret Warlick, we decided we need to go to church. So we walked to church and joined the Methodist Church when we was 13 years old. And I'll have to tell you something that really happened. I don't know why, but about 2 weeks after we joined the church, the preacher died.
I read that. I read that in your book.
Beware.
I will be careful.
Beware who you join in the church.
Yeah.
So anyway, we were baptized at that time too. So that's my earliest recollection of the church.
Okay.
Now, were you baptized in the church, or did they take you out to a stream or something?
I'm sorry, I can't hear.
Were you baptized in the church, or did they take you out to a stream?
Sprinkled in the church.
Okay.
Yeah. And I can't remember an MYF.
I was
And
going to
I
ask about
remember
that.
we didn't have Bible school.
Okay.
I went down to the Reformed Church with my neighbor to Bible school. I can't remember us having Bible school.
Yeah, I was
But-
curious about when I read that. I was curious if they had any other groups besides, since they didn't have a church group, if they had other groups in town that you could do stuff with.
Yeah, but not a lot.
Okay.
You know, it was way back. I mean, when you're talking, it was back then, sure enough.
Right.
People didn't have transportation.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing, though, they didn't have was television. That was good. Anyway, as I say, I just grew up in the church. But when I got married, I was married at Riverview Baptist Church because my brother was the youth minister there, and I had been going with him there a lot and knew that minister better than I knew our minister at the time. So Ralph and I were married at Riverview Baptist. But then the war came along, you know, and that made me an absentee for a good many years. And when we came back, I got into the United Methodist Women in the whole 9 yards. And of course, even Johnny and Phil, Johnny had 9 years perfect attendance in Sunday school there. That was pretty
That's
good.
awesome.
That was my oldest son. So the only thing, Johnny was very active in MIF. Now Phil was a farmer, that's my 2 sons. And he had a bunch of old cows he was milking. And I told Carson Williams one time, I said, you know, I'm really worried because Phil's not interested in going to MYF. I said, he'd rather be home milking cows. And he said, Pris, I wouldn't worry a bit about that. He said, if as long as he's milking cows, then you don't need to worry about Phil.
There you go.
Carson was my pastor also.
Carson.
Carson Williams was my pastor.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh.
I liked him. He was good with the young people.
Yep.
So anyway, now where am I? Back to
cows.
when the kids were little, yeah. So it's about the same thing from then on. I went to, United Methodist Women.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when I joined United Methodist Women, Mary McQuinn was president. Do you remember her? Okay. That's for your time then.
Yeah.
Mary McQuinn was president. And then Flonnie Owen, you remember her?
Nope.
Okay, that's Mike Owen's mother.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
She was quite a character.
I don't doubt.
But I
No one-
can
no one
remember
like her,
some of
not
those.
surprised.
And we met on Monday afternoons. We didn't, and then at that time, all the circles met on Monday.
Okay.
Monday night was circle night regardless.
Mhm.
And once a year, we divided up. All the names were put in a hat. And they drew out names for different groups. You didn't choose which one you wanted to be in.
Okay.
And it was such a good way to mingle.
Right.
I really like that. We've really got in a rut. It's got to be a social thing. You got this little group wants to be together. I don't like that, but it's not my business, is it?
Right.
I know Helen Combs. You remember her? Helen and I got in the same circle one time, and she said, "I know, Pris, this is the Lord's will."
Well, she was my aunt.
What?
Helen is my aunt.
Did you know
Helen
that?
Combs is my aunt.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
So,
I thought she was
yeah.
related. Yeah, but anyway, you remember Helen. She is a character.
Well, unfortunately, she passed away before right when I was born, so I don't remember her a whole lot. But I've heard so many stories over the years about her.
Yeah, she was a real pleasant person.
Mhm.
But anyway, that's the way we used to do the circles. And it worked really well, and all of them met on Monday night. Then as the years went by, some of them were employed and could not come on Monday afternoon. So Gladys Glasgow organized a Tuesday night circle for the ones that were working. And that was the only difference in the times.
Mhm.
And now I think we have 3 or 4, maybe 5 different times they
Right.
meet. And that way it's not so easily coordinated as it was, under the old way.
Right.
But my philosophy is if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
There you go.
And that's where we are off the track.
Mhm.
Somebody wants to do something a little better.
Yeah.
Whatever you do, I could do better.
Exactly.
And that's kind of where we've come to. But anyway, as time went on, Mary Sue Avery and myself, we didn't have anything going for the older people. And we wasn't older then, we're younger. I've always been old. Anyway, Mary Sue and I decided we wanted to do something for the older people. So we was going to do a Christmas meal at Christmas time in the old fellowship hall. Well, you had no idea how many was coming because we didn't know they wouldn't tell you till that day to have a thing. But
It's still like that.
anyway, we had if you had known Mary Sue, that was a good one too. She was an excellent cook. And we'd cook us up a bunch of hens and make chicken pie and make a long gravy if they didn't too many got there. We could make it do because we didn't have any idea it was coming.
Right.
But anyway, we loved it. We did that for, I'd say 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
And it was in the old kitchen washing up the dishes and all. We had to help.
Right.
But she and I did the cooking.
Okay.
So that was our contribution at that time. And I don't know, I just kind of followed along with whatever was going on
Okay.
and tried to take part in whatever.
I wanted to ask you what were the services like?
Well,
What were
Worship.
the Sunday morning worship services? How were they different then than they are now?
well, I can't say there's a lot of difference.
Okay.
Except the preacher never had somebody up there helping him read something.
I'm all for that.
Uh,
I'm all for that.
Are you
Yeah.
for it?
Yeah, I'm for it.
Well, I'm saying we didn't have it then, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Whether you're for or against it, don't matter. But sometimes, if somebody gets up there, that you can't hear,
Mm-hmm.
you just lose track.
Right.
You've lost the connection.
Right.
So that's the main reason I see that And of course, I can't out here anyway. When you can't hear and you can't see and you can't think, you're in a bad fix. Oh well. Anyway, I've been blessed. I can't fuss. Can I, Carol?
No, ma'am.
No, I'm still doing a little figured out. I had to call the mayor the other day to straighten him out.
Oh, goodness.
So I'm still at it, Carol. Anyway, let's see. What
So-
else? That book's got about all my stuff in it.
Yeah, I read a lot of
And
that.
this is about the church mainly. I know is what you want to know.
Yeah.
But there's not a lot. Now, Marguerite Hefner, I got to tell you about this. Marguerite talked to older ladies. This is when I was young. Marguerite talked to older ladies, and I substituted for her sometimes. And they're all sitting there asleep. Liv Mooney and Helen Golden, and I can't think, but I know they always slept.
Oh, my goodness. Wow.
But
Tell
anyway,
them-
what I did with my Sunday school reading, I got along so good. My mama was an old teacher in her day, and she taught Sunday school at Leonard's Chapel for 50 years.
Oh, wow.
And she would spend half of her week doing her research. So when Saturday come and I was going to teach, I'd run down there and get Mama's notes. And Louise Brewer told me one time, said, Pris, I get more out of your lessons than anybody we've ever had. I just don't think I was doing it. But anyway, that might not have been too fair, but I thought she'd think I was smart.
Right. Where did y'all meet? Where did you meet for Sunday school?
What did I want?
Where did you meet for Sunday school? What room did you meet in?
In the Philadelphia room.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. That was back then.
So what was it like before they put in the air conditioning? I mean,
I can't tell you that.
okay.
It didn't make that much difference to me, I don't think.
Do you remember anybody meeting up in the dome?
In the dome?
Yeah.
No, I don't. The men might have or something, but nothing I ever went to.
Pris, tell them about your Sunday school that you did on Saturday mornings.
Oh. Well, when I was president of the United Methodist Women, I thought, now we drug along here all these years and done nothing. So I got it in my head to have a Sunday school for the kids up on Mooney Drive. Now that's one of our projects. Okay, Mike Owen was in charge of all that, you know. And Mike said he had a building there that was kind of a fellowship thing and we could use it. So Marguerite and Bobby Crowell. Now Marguerite told the stories and Bobby had them singing,
Okay.
and I made them bologna sandwiches. That was my job, and I had to go around and gather them up. Now, you can't tell them to be there a certain time. We're going to be there at 10 o'clock or whatever. You got to wake them up and get them their shoes on and their coats, and the rest of them was afraid to go in that crowd. I wasn't afraid of them. I had some of them, the old daddy come wrapped in a blanket. And I got the little fella outside and put his coat on. But anyway, you just run into all kind of things. I felt like I was blowing a horn and they was following me. But anyway,
Wow.
they loved it. I made them hot chocolate and something to eat. And Marguerite was so good with stories. I don't know whether you ever knew her or not. Wasn't she, Carol? And Bobby Crowell was so good with songs for the kids.
I didn't know Miss Bobby did music like that. That's good to know.
Bobby was excellent with that. And we really had a good team. And we did that for about 3 months or longer. And I couldn't expect Marguerite and Bobby to keep on. You know, I just couldn't help me start it. And I couldn't get anybody to do anything after that. And it really disturbed me, preacher. I talked to our preacher about it. And my hope was, once I got this started up here, that the different churches would take other projects and work them. It's my thinking that these children are our future citizens. We done got these losers up here. And we got to educate these kids and teach them right from wrong and stuff. And I felt like if the different churches would take it, like if we'd taken this project and somebody else others, but it never got off the ground. That was just my thinking. Nobody thought like me, I reckon. Because, you know, the people think I'm crazy anyway. But there's one thing about getting old. You can say anything you want to because people think you're crazy anyway.
There you go.
That's right,
There you
Aunt
go.
Carol.
That's me.
They say, oh, Pris Moone's crazy. Don't pay her no attention.
I listen to you, Pris. I do.
They do say that, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, I know they do.
Is there anything that happened at the church that you remember as being really funny or a really memorable event?
Well, one thing I thought was really funny. I believe Parson Williams was the preacher then. And they had these kids at the altar joining the church. And anyway, he's started up here laying hands on them and blessed them, whatever he did. He went on down here. Well, in the meantime, this little boy up here fainted or something. The ushers carried him out.
Oh
Well,
no.
Carson was down here. He come back up here to start over and give them their certificates, and that was missing. I happened to be sitting in the balcony that Sunday, and I watched that. It was so funny. He didn't know what, he thought he'd been raptured already.
Oh my goodness.
But anyway, I can remember that incident. I thought it was really funny.
Wow.
You said you had done everything there but preach.
What, honey?
You said you'd done everything there but preach. Isn't that right? At Methodist Church, everything but preaching.
Like served all the offices and everything.
You
So
did everything.
you were even the first woman head of the administrative board
I was the first woman chairman of trustees.
of trustees. Okay.
Yeah. Me and Harvey Jones got a lot done that year, though.
I'm sure.
I had been insurance back in my career when I don't think I mentioned that one. But anyway, our insurance was so far behind. If we'd had a fire, we'd been in trouble.
Right.
So I helped get that straightened out.
Okay.
And then Harvey incorporated it that year.
Okay.
So I feel like we got a load of things done.
Well, yeah, that's a little thing that got done.
I don't
So,
know that insurance. Oh, another thing I did, that was a first. I had an outside audit. All we'd ever done was have somebody in the church look at the books.
Right.
Well, we were fixing to change. Pat was leaving, and we were fixing to change. And I started hollering for an outside audit. Well, some of them got really insulted.
Yeah.
But I said, every other place does it.
Yeah.
And we need to because there'd been some problems
Yeah.
in some of the churches at that time. And anyway, it cost about $3,500, I think. But I felt like it. I guess that's the only time it's ever been done. I don't know.
Well, my dad did one at every church that he served.
You
So
what?
my father did an outside audit with every church that he served. So
They had an
that's-
outside audit.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, we'd never had it. They just had some accountant or somebody in the church to look over the books.
Yeah.
And that's not a good idea. But anyway, I got that done. I remember that.
Okay.
The year I don't know whether I was trustee for a couple of years, whatever.
Yeah.
But I was the first woman chairman, I know, of the building and stuff.
Wow.
But at that time, I was managing the shopping center over there. And the preacher called me one morning and said, we're in a mess up here. Said, something had leaked upstairs and run down on the floor. And I said, I'll be there. He said, I'll get somebody. I said, don't worry about it, preacher. I said, I manage that shopping center over there and the store's all leak. Anyway, I took care of that. I can't remember too much about it. But, I mean, it really wasn't that hard to do. But for me, not that I'm not smart, but that's my line of work,
Right.
you know, is buildings and insurance and sales. So I really enjoy doing that. But that's about all I contributed, I reckon, was that the main thing I really hated, I didn't get to continue, was the children in the housing project.
Okay.
You know,
yeah. So we've been looking back over 100 years. What would be your hope and dream for the next 100 years for First Church?
well, I tell you what, preacher, I'm from the old school. I see you preach a little more hellfire and damnation. Well, some people think hell's an ice house.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm serious.
Yeah.
Back when I was growing up, even the Baptist church, so I went to Baptist a lot. I mean, people made a change in their lives because of a sermon or because of one of the old hymns that Holy Spirit works through. And I don't see that anymore. Do you tell me why? Because I can't see?
It happens, but I don't think it happens as much as it used to. I think that church has become an event rather than a way of life.
That's not what we're supposed to do.
You're right.
Exactly. Well, and I remember my grandfather being a hellfire and damnation preacher.
I guarantee
So
you.
I don't remember it personally, but my cousins have all said that he would let them have it on numerous occasions.
The church, in my opinion, the church should be about saving souls. And I don't see that. You find out how many people that we have taken in the church on profession of faith. If you found 5, I'll give you $500. Do you remember anybody? I don't. They moved from one church to another.
Right.
But as far as somebody going to the altar to repent and join the church, I don't remember. Do you, Carol?
That's,
Now tell me
that-
why.
I don't know, because other than my last church, I've always had people come in by profession of faith.
You always had what?
People come in by profession of faith.
That's what they come in on. I mean, most of ours come from another church.
Yeah.
There's very few that have, at that point, changed their lives and then will join the church from a sermon or whatever reason. But I don't think I don't remember anybody. I'll just be honest with you. I'm sure there has been some. But another thing, that church is how old?
204 years old.
Okay. If we've ever produced a minister, I don't know that either.
You're asking the wrong person, Emily.
Who do you think? Can you know anybody? I know.
I'm trying to think.
Jill Owen she had a degree in youth work or something.
Well, Vicki Andrews did youth work also.
He was.
Vicki Andrews did youth work also, I believe, if I'm correct.
But as far as producing a minister,
I
and
don't-
some of these, well, I guarantee you, Riverview Baptist Church has produced about 4 or 5. And that bothers me a little bit. Are we really doing what we need to do, preacher? I want to. What am I saying that for? I ain't gonna be here. But I mean, it does bother me that people don't feel like that they need to change their lives. Everybody's going to heaven because God loves everybody. And that's, in my thinking, the philosophy a lot this day. But that ain't what my Bible says. You know? But I mean, are you a preacher to the preacher?
Well, sometimes preachers need to hear it too.
That's right.
They need to be reminded of it.
Carol, you can't beat that one, can you?
No, ma'am. I expect that from you. I expect you to do
We'll
that.
put that in my next book.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, I don't want to hurt your feelings.
You're not
you
hurting my
haven't
feelings.
been here, so I can't be talking about you.
I've only preached twice. Well, no, I've only preached once. So
Yeah.
So
Give
you
me-
know I'm not talking about you. I'm just answering questions. And
Yeah, I understand.
I'm telling the truth.
Yes, ma'am. That's what we're looking for. That's what we're
Okay,
looking for.
anything else you want to know?
I don't know anything else to say, man.
no, we'll just edit out any part that Phil Cole might take offense to.
Yeah, exactly. We'll edit out any part that Philip Cole might take offense to.
What now?
So we're going to edit out any part that Philip Cole might take offense to.
Oh,
You want to talk about Philip Cole?
well, I like Philip all right. I mean, these people that leave the church because they don't like the preacher. You know what I tell them? I didn't join the preacher, I joined the church.
Amen.
Amen.
That's what I usually tell whenever I leave a church and people say, well, I think I'm going to go somewhere else. Don't go somewhere else because I'm not here. I didn't want you to come here because of me.
Uh-huh. Well, anyway, that's what I tell them. And we've had some preachers that were more appeal to me than others. Maybe.
Right.
But I can't say we ever had any I disliked. You know, I felt like they've been sent there for a purpose. Maybe not for me, but for somebody.
Mm-hmm.
But I really would like to see, I guess what I'm saying is more hell, fire, and damnation, but I'd like to see more people feel like they needed to change their lives. Now, I'm not trying to judge them,
Right.
but my conscience is my worst enemy. When I get to doing something I oughtn't to, my conscience just keeps aggravating me. And I'm not sure that that's a prominent thing in people's lives anymore.
Well, the church is not what it used to be. The church is not the central focus of society as it once was. Like when you were growing up, I mean, when you wanted to do things, you went to the church.
That's right.
And that was a big part of the community.
That's a big part of your life.
And now it's not that. It's
We call it time that the church did do something really good.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
I wish you hadn't asked me that. You want to withdraw that? Well, I really can't, but one good thing is the Easter noon where he brings in these other ministers, I think is a good outreach to the community. But now as far as something just really outstanding, I can tell you this, the fire department used to be right next door on Main Street. And if the fire alarm went off on Sunday morning, about half the congregation got up and left. Thought they were volunteer firemen. I can remember that. I just, you mean as far as an outstanding project or...
Outstanding project, or when they just really embrace somebody that I mean, I guess Tammy was kind of the opposite, but whenever they embrace somebody and really help them out.
I tell you, I was really disappointed. I had for years asked our preacher for now this is another thing that's gone to pot. It's a Hefner preaching mission.
Yeah.
Now at one time, they brought in pretty good people.
Right.
And then they got to the intellectual instead of
The actual preachers.
yeah, they got into the intellectual instead of the spiritual. Preachers, speakers.
Yep.
But way back, we had some good ones.
Right.
That would make you think about your life. Now that's the truth, we really did. But I was most disappointed. I had listened to John Ed Matheson. You know who that is?
I sure do. I've had him at one of my preaching missions.
Listen, I got him to our church. But you think people came? I figured they'd come from Boulder City and Gastonia and everywhere. This fella had told me at Lake Junaluska. Said, Pris, if you ever get him to your church, you let me know and I'll bring a bus load. He didn't. But I mean, if John Ed didn't draw him in, I'd give up.
Yep.
Now, he was the best I've heard as far as Methodist preachers on television. But anyway,
Yeah, I've heard
that's
him
been a
before.
good many years ago. Carol, that might have been before your time.
I expect. Did they have revivals? Did they ever have revivals at the up there?
Well, they call these, that's what Harlan Hefner, this is my understanding. He came up from dirt to riches, rags to riches. And I understand that that's what he meant, that Hefner preaching mission to be, a revival. But that got in somebody else's hands or something.
What about camp meeting? Did you go to camp meeting in
No, I
August?
never did go to camp meeting. That wasn't.
Never? Even when you were
Well,
growing
yeah,
up?
I've been there, but not. I didn't know what I was doing. I was young, about 6, 7 years old. Now, some of us went not too long, a couple of years ago, to hear somebody that we used to have. I think it was Bernard Fitzgerald or somebody
Hmm.
that he was there. So, no, that wasn't one of my things. I was too busy. Too busy running around and doing stupid things. In my book, I tell about them stupid things. Don't I?
Yep.
And people say, now I know why she hadn't gotten sense. Oh, Lord.
She ran a rest home for 17 years, kind of single-handedly. That was a,
Yeah, there'd never been one in Lincoln County. And that was something that stuck in my craw. I'll tell you about that. When Ralph was in the Navy, my husband, we were in California. And I was working in the dime store trying to make enough to eat. But anyway, Ralph had rheumatic fever and was in the hospital. And back then, these older ladies, the USO or something, visited all these people in the hospital. And this old lady kind of took a liking to Ralph, and he wanted me to come out there, which he had no way of getting me a place to stay. And I make a long story short, she took care of all that. And when I got out there, she had me a room in the house next to where they lived. She and her cousin or sister or somebody who was blind lived together. Well, I said I had never realized how lonely old people could be. But those two old ladies, I said, when I went there, you'd think the Queen of England had come. They were so glad to see me, see somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And I told myself then, if I ever can, I'm going to do something about something like this. And I said, I don't think my life would ever been fulfilled had I not got that done. I didn't have any money, but with the Lord's help, I kept 15 old folks for $130 a month.
Wow.
Wow.
Did their washing and took them to the doctor and loved them, and we had more fun. Ralph had a good garden, and they loved to string beans and shuck corn.
Now that's the kind of story I was looking for a while ago.
But that was a different kind of people. That was the old. Now you talk about I'm old, but that was really old.
Right.
And most of them had come out of the country,
Where was that rest home?
out on the Startown Road.
Okay.
Do you know where Andrews Drive is?
I think so.
It's about the first street you come to
Okay.
after you go to Startown Road. And there's a White House that's up here with the columns on the
Yeah.
front. Okay, that was where it was.
Okay.
And then I built a house. We lived about a city block in back of it.
Okay.
Okay. But anyway, that was my first. I did a lot of first things. You'll see it in my book if you read it. But that was kind of, to me, a challenge is good. And when I was doing my rest home, I think I told Carol this, there was not one soul, even my preacher said, Pris, you don't want to do that. That's just like waving a flag in front of a bull. Just tell me I can't do it, I'll show you.
There you go.
But anyway, I did that for 18 years. When my boys were growing up, they had all these grandmothers and grandpas, and they didn't want to go to school at all. They wanted to stay there to eat candy. So it was a good time for them and for us, really. I mean, as far as my family, it certainly I didn't neglect them at all. They were with me. And when Johnny got in high school, I never missed a ball game. I might have my old folks' pot soup cooking, but I was sitting at the ball game.
Goodness
It's
gracious.
just, I must have been superwoman, preacher. I want you to know I carried their clothes. I'd load up these baskets of dirty clothes and put them in the back of my station wagon and go to town and put them in the wash place. While I was washing, I'd go to the grocery store. And there was a girl, she'd take them out and put them in the dryer. So I got the groceries in the dryer while their dinner was cooking. I said I must have been superwoman. I don't know
Yep.
how I did it.
Bless your heart. Well, before I forget, Michelle Bernard told me to tell you hello.
What?
Michelle Bernard said to tell you hello
Oh, okay.
and that she loves you. I sent
Okay.
her an email today about something else. And
Yeah, she
I told
did.
her I was coming
Well,
over.
She did a story about me and the rest of them.
Okay.
Well, Ken Marks, when that came out in the paper about my arrest home, he said, Pris, I didn't know you did that. I said, yeah, Ken, that's where I made my first million. $130 a month.
That's
Oh, my
right.
goodness.
That's
And
right.
back then you could, there wasn't all this free houses and free food.
Right.
Women worked after 65 because they need to supplement their income. That was the best help I had. They were so patient and good and showed up. And nowadays I'll get everything free. They don't want to work.
Mhm.
It's a lot different.
Yes.
Now I have round the clock help with me now. Not that I want it, but my voice insists. But I told her, I'd already told her to take a couple hours off today. And they're really good to me and all that, but I'll tell you, you better be ready for it.
Yeah.
I've worked 95 years. I retired as 95.
Yes, ma'am, you did.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
I decided this time.
Yeah.
And I wish I hadn't, because ever since then I fell apart. I had a heart attack and then broke my leg. I didn't have a bit of trouble in the years I was working.
Yeah.
I mean, I was never sick. The Lord's blessed me, you just don't know how much I can say. And I think I've done a little bit in return, and I won't get on that. But I always tell the Lord, if you got something for me to do today, I'll try to do it. And I know one time I got overloaded, and this fellow was in my office, this preacher, Nathan Groove. And I had this family in there with a couple of kids. And I had sent them to the Salvation Army in Gastonia the day before, but they didn't keep them but one night. And it's back in my office with nowhere to go. So I was going to call a motel, and I was going to put them up for the night. And Nathan Groves is a minister, you know. Anyway, Nathan was in my office. He said, Pris, I'll take them right there for you. Or you can't give me your call. And I said, yes. And Nathan, when you talk to that man up there, you tell him I'm putting in my notice.
Wow.
I said, I've done that enough. Oh, well. Anyway, you know, if you want any more tales, I can tell you some big ones.
Well, I know you bought the old hospital, the Reeves Gamble Hospital. My mother used to work at that hospital back
Is
in the
that
day.
right?
She was in the lab technician. So
The lab was in the basement.
yeah, she was real interested to read that part. I don't think she realized that you bought that ultimately.
Oh, yeah, I remember when she worked there.
That was an
Fair
accident.
Blackburn. Fair Blackburn was head nurse. You
Okay.
Remember that?
I've heard that. Yeah, I remember her mom mentioning that name.
Yeah.
And
There
it
was
was,
one bathroom on the hall upstairs. There was about 8 patient rooms on the hall, and there was one bathroom. So you just kind of looked after yourself. And the nursery back there was a room that had little boxes in it for the babies. There's some kind of wooden boxes. Oh,
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
things are different now.
Yeah, very
And,
much so.
I'm trying to think. The operating room. Oh, yeah, let me tell you about the operating room. Do you know what the emergency light was?
What's
a
that?
skylight.
Really?
Yeah, they had a nice
Power went out.
panel up there, too, where you could see if the power went off.
Huh.
Hmm.
Let's hope they didn't do surgery at night.
No.
I don't guess they did it. So they did have to get them a lantern.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, but that was a skylight.
Wow.
Yeah. But you know, it worked.
Yeah.
I mean, people went there and got better, didn't they?
Didn't you tell
They
me?
didn't all die.
Didn't you tell me that one hospital was Democrat and the other one was Republican?
I have heard that.
They was.
One hospital was for Democrats and the other one was for the Republicans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the same way with the funeral homes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One was Democrat and buried Republican.
I've heard that, too.
Republican.
Wow.
That's just the way it was. There wasn't much fighting over it, but that's just the way it was. There wasn't nobody I called ugly names because of it that I remember. That's just the way it was.
Right. Well, and I think back then you could be on different sides and disagree and still like each other, not like things are right
That's
now.
right.
And it's kind of
Now, with Mr. Drum, that was the Drum Funeral Home, was one of the most Christian men I've ever known. I know there used to be some kind of a prayer group. I remember going with my mama and Mr. Drum, and there was a man named P.M. Keever had a bicycle shop. Mr.
Yeah.
Keever or Mr. Drum would lead that service, and they were really good men.
okay.
They could pray to make you think you was going to shake hands with the Lord.
Wow.
Anyway, that's just the way it was.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I can't give you any more information about the church.
Oh, that's quite
But
all
that's
right.
all I can remember.
We got plenty there.